Yeah, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Reviving Mississippi. We appreciate you for tuning in. I'm your host, Keith Stamps. We got our co-host here, Miss Angelique Lee. What's going on, Angelique?
Hey, DeKeither. Hey, everyone.
Boy, we have been rocking and rolling this week. Can you believe it's been a whole week?
I can't believe it's almost Friday, DeKeither. It's Wednesday, almost Friday.
I know. And as we start every show off, we always say we appreciate those who are going through bereavement. We appreciate the testimonies and the hard work and the sacrifices and the prayers because bereavement is rough, especially in a time like this. Bereavement is so rough. I hear testimonies every day. You know, you got the big name folks who just suck the life out of you when you hear their loss, like John Lewis and C.T. Vivian and Charles Evers, but you have regular everyday folks that have some amazing testimonies of families staying together. Normally when you have issues when people pass away, Angelique, when families have issues and that. But I haven't really heard a lot of issues like normal. Mm-hmm. People must be loving each other a little bit. Must be appreciating.
This pandemic, you don't have a choice.
That's right. You may not have a choice but to love each other and take care of each other. So if you know somebody is going through bereavement, make sure you take care of them. Make sure you reach out to them. Make sure you just help them out. And I got a praise report. Mm. I ain't said anything about this even on the internet, but I do want to say thanks to God. My daughter and my son were in a car accident last week.
Oh, wow, DeKeither.
Yep, and they walked away. Okay. Car was totaled, but they walked away.
That's good.
And so hats off to the emergency service folks over there, but glory be to God. We could have been having a funeral right now, but God blessed us to continue to go on the way, help these young folks while they're out there doing things and growing up. I just want to say thank God. I've been kind of off kilter for the last week just because just the thought, like, sometimes you take stuff for granted. You take life for granted. And that reminded me that, hold on, let's slow down a little bit, because this thing could be going a whole different way. And so, Christian, I love you. I know you tuned in, baby girl. Donovan, I appreciate you. And y'all keep taking care of yourselves out there. I know they're in Alabama right now, getting ready for school to start. We got an amazing show today.
I can't wait.
We got a rock star first. And then we got a young man by the name of Mr. Greg Divinity going to call in.
Oh, okay.
So I want you to introduce this young lady, Angelique.
Well, hello, everybody. We've got Brandy Harrington on the show today. She's a real estate broker and an entrepreneur from Jackson, Mississippi. And she has just released her 100-page spiral-bound book called The Coins Journal. And this is supposed to help us manage our finances. So I'd love to hear more about it because I definitely need help with managing my finances, Brandy.
Okay.
I meant, she's no stranger to this show. She's been on before. She's been on our Facebook Lives before. But when I say she's taken tragedy and turned it into a deeper level of understanding, when I went through the information about the website, we're going to get to that in a second, but just taking her life and funneling through her passion has been amazing. Before we get to the interview, I'm going to our sponsors. Michael Jordan Transportation Services. Michael Jordan Transportation Services offers transportation services all over the central Mississippi area. Wonderful story. He was on the show last week to tell in depth his story. But you can go to mjstransportation1.com. They are looking to hire 25 new drivers to assist in their services and to help people who are developmentally challenged and transport them elderly people all around town. It's a great opportunity to supplement your income, but only for mature drivers. It's not just, I need some money after school. No, he's looking for mature drivers because you got to have a level of maturity when you're handling senior citizens, when you're handling people who are developmentally challenged. You have to have a little bit of maturity. And if that meets you, and this opportunity sounds like something that's right for you, go to mjstransportation1.com for the employment opportunities. 25 jobs ready and available right now. But more importantly, a service that can help you get around transport in times like this. You know, you don't want to drive. Um, you want to make sure you get there safe and on time. Go to mjftransportation1.com for those services. And we're going to have Mr. Michael Jordan call in next week to remind you again of how important those services are. But our first guest, Ms. Brandy Harrington, wonderful testimony. I mean, just when you hear her life story and then the body of work that has accompanied that story, you're going to be flat foot amazed. So welcome to the show, Brandy. How you doing today in these coronavirus times? Are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yep, I hear you. Can you hear us, Brandy?
I can hear you. Why can you not hear me?
I hear you now. Yeah, I hear you now.
I don't know what's going on. Hopefully we won't have any more problems, but everything looks to be a go over here.
Yep, go ahead. It kind of blinked out again. So, I don't know what's going on. We'll try to get these technical difficulties taken care of. But I'm going to bring up her website. Mm-hmm. And when you look at this website, it is a flat foot, amazing website. So the website is, are you still there, Brandon?
I am here. Can you hear me?
I hear you now. It's kind of like you're kind of a little bit away from your Wi-Fi. And it may have you, it may not be coming through. The signal may not be as strong as necessary.
Okay. And if need be, I can get over. Okay. Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Okay. So wanted to, again, thank you for having me here. I think just to give you a little bit of background on who I am, and you mentioned earlier with the trying times, one of the things that I want to talk about is obviously, she did a great job of introducing me. I am Brandy Harrington. I am here, live in Jackson, and I have a real estate company. But outside of that, what happened is what you were talking about earlier. You talked about earlier with making sure.
You broke up just for a second, Brandon. I think you can move closer to a better area in your house. Maybe you have better cell phone receptivity or closer to your Wi-Fi router. That's what it seems to be. But again, ladies and gentlemen, you can go to her website, and that website is mycoinsjournal.com. That's mycoinsjournal.com to take a look at all of her services. You're back. I can see you moving now, Brent.
Okay, I'm gonna switch it.
All right. Okay.
Okay, how's this?
Even better.
All right, so thank you. That's why we have these nice phones, right? We can just quickly. Okay, yes. So wanted to talk about what you mentioned earlier with making the most out of our time. And what came about with the My Coins Journal, before we get into that, was really a personal story. I was like everybody else, we've just been running and doing everything in terms of just thinking we had time. And my mother, unfortunately, had gotten sick. Very much similar to this situation. She got sick very quickly, right? And it was during this time that I came to realize that I was not a good steward of the time that I was given. Meaning all these days that I've had to be able to talk to her and really start understanding, Mom, if something were to happen to you, where do I go? Let's talk about your finances. Let's talk about what you own. Tell me more about that. I never took advantage of it, and it's not until we get caught into a situation where we're forced that we think and we realize, you know what, I need to do better, right? And that's normally how we've been acting. Everyone, we always react as opposed to simply planning for uncomfortable conversations. Now, I get it. We don't ever want to talk about it. But I think if we look at it in the sense of we have to start shifting our mindset, right? Our mindset is thinking that every time we talk about uncomfortable conversations, we are thinking the worst, right? But it's not always the case. In certain instances, You've had people who've gotten sick. Let's even talk about COVID or been in a car accident and they've recovered, right? Let's think about those people. But in that transition before they get to recovery, we are still having to think about bills right now, right? We still have to deal with life. You still have other things that's going on. So in that time, all I'm thinking of in my mother's situation is, why didn't we have this conversation, right? But then as I shift my mindset to say, I need to do better, it is at that point where I need to realize that, you know what? I need to stop playing around and I need to start making a better, plan for my life and my family's life. And I think for me right now, that's when my eye-opening experience came, which is what you talked about earlier, Nikita, is I needed to stop and say, you know what? I need to be grateful for the time I'm given right now. And let me start planning this out. And that is really where the birth of the My Coins Journal was formed from, was essentially around that topic there, shifting my mind and now making it a priority to have help people plan for, unfortunately, either uncomfortable conversations, but really helping you understand the importance why. And I think once we can do that, you can be able to navigate into so many other things right now in life.
So, so when did you write the book? And tell me about the process the journal takes you through. And then how
Okay. All right. So I wrote the book when my mother got sick suddenly, and it really was birthed in the hospital. You don't get rest in the hospital, right? Let's just be honest. Hospital, you not sleeping. So it was at that point where, again, my mindset shifted and I said to myself, let me start getting this information right now. And so that's where the journal was basically written from. And it was written from the fact of, as I thought about now, the news of my mother's diagnosis, I said, okay, she has a house, she has bills, she has all these things. Where do I go look for it? And I was like, I can't even know where to start with that with my mother, So for me, it was like, and then I thought about myself. Let's just be honest. I'm in the hospital. My husband had to come take care of me. Let's be honest. We pay the bills, ladies, right? Nothing against the men, but who normally takes care of the women? And I thought about myself at that point. It was like, would he know where to start? Would he know where to live? He don't even. Let's not talk about what they don't even really like. It could be right there in front of them. Hey, where is this? And you're like, right there. So about kids, right? Let's think about children and what they normally do. Who they gonna go ask? You could, Keith, your wife probably sitting right there. Your children gonna ask who? Mom, what is this? What? That you don't see him? So the reality of it is, as a females, we get asked all the hard questions, right? We're supposed to know the what, the where, the why, where's this, what about this, what about this? And I think as a woman, for me, it was like my mind shift had to change, because even though that wasn't a topic in my family, the reality of it is I had to change that to make it a topic and not be scared around the topic, but more so, and just like we planned for everything else, I knew that this was going to happen today at on the 29th to be on your show. I planned for this, right? So we just need to be able to take that planning portion and then to start planning what we have, all of the resources that we work for, and helping it to be in one convenient place, as opposed to like right now. To keep, if I was to ask you, where is the account number for your light bill right now? You would tell me where?
In the binder, on the shelf, with the red tape on the back of it. Everything is already there.
All right. And what about you? Where's your information?
I don't think my partner would not know at all where to even find my checkbook.
So your partner wouldn't be able to find anything. And let's think about, if you would ask, if you had to go into your mother's house or your family member's house, where do you think that information is?
Right. I mean, that's why I'm excited about this Coins Journal, because it's an investment in maintaining the legacy of your family. And also, when you see your life on a balance sheet, you start to make different financial decisions when you put that balance sheet together and say, hold on, these are my assets, these are my liabilities, and this is the net. When you go through the process of buying something and they have you fill out a balance sheet and you said, is this my net worth? After all I've done my whole life, I'm only, financially worth X.
Mm-hmm.
You definitely start to make some different financial decisions.
And I think that leads us to, in our community, let's just think about insurance and whole life policies and insurance policies, right? Like you just mentioned, you only may have X, right? But let's think about it. You've worked really hard. You've done all these things. If you have a policy, does your family know about it? And if so, why not? You think about generational wealth is, let's just be honest, you can save $100,000, right? Is that going to make a generational impact? But if I left you a nice insurance policy, right? Would that not make an impact for the generation? We have to stop thinking that everything that we have is just for us. It's going to be really our goal and our reality to make sure that we're leaving wealth for generations, right? And the only way you can do that, I don't care how hard you work, and like you said on that net sheet, you're not going to have enough money, right? And you're not working this hard just for you. You did that typically for your what? Your family and your kids, right? To ensure that they had a better life. All of those resources, we just need to start documenting. We can no longer think that we have time to do that. We can no longer take on the goals or the mindset to say, oh, we have time to worry about, oh, I'll get that. That's not, our mindset has to shift and change and then start thinking legacy. Everything that you're doing right now with the radio station, everything that you all are doing, is a legacy. Your children, everyone looks up to that, right? That is your staple. Why not capture that information for your family? That is a record. When we think about all the great things that you've done, it is now recorded where generations can be able to reference your contribution to them, and not only to you, but to what you've done to the society. That's the journal. It is resources, yes, but it is a legacy journal, because now we are taking on a different realm. We're saying I'm asking people to stop saying, oh, I have time, and recognize that everything that you do right now, even today, your time, whether you want to say it or not, we just want to be able to take it and make sure that you're documenting it properly and you're recording, again, what you talked about, all that stuff that you worked hard for, you making sure that your family get it. It's billions in the ground. Like literally, if you do the research, I've already done it though for you. There's billions with a B of unclaimed money in the ground. Who's it benefiting?
Right. I mean, this ties right into your profession. I don't want to move directly into that right now, but we're going to get to the real estate piece in just a second, because I can't have a mind like yours and a heart like yours for wealth building and real estate without talking about that. But before we leave the Coins Journal, I want to bring up your website.
Okay.
I don't know if you can see that, but so this is your website. Talk us through just, how do people navigate it? And just talk us through your website and how do people purchase your book and connect with you.
So obviously, in order to get into the journal, you can go here. This just talks about my story a little bit more and goes into detail in terms of the time that I thought I had, and really helps people understand the emotions and some of the feelings that I felt in a condensed form, obviously, but really helping you understand that I thought I had time to do all these things. And you'll go, and as you stroll through this, you'll be able to see a little bit more information about who I am and what the journal does have and can offer in terms of who I am and the background behind that. If you navigate out of that, you go back into, you can shop coins. On our homepage, go back up to Keith it for me really quickly.
On the homepage?
There should be. Yeah, go down for me.
Okay.
There you go. All right. So if you come down into the page, that's the infomercial. And there you see
let me play it right quick.
Sure, go ahead. Hello, everyone. My name is Brandy J. Harrington, and I am the author of My Coins Journal. What inspired me to write the My Coins Journal is a personal story. I wrote it with one person in mind, my mother. I wrote it with the intent of having all of her necessary financial documents in one place. Now I'm on a mission to help others realize that having all of your important financial documents in one place helps reduce the chaos and confusion in a suddenly moment. To learn more, head over to www.mycoinsjournal.com or over on Amazon to find out how you can learn more about the My Coins Journal. I look forward to meeting you all soon. Bye.
Love it.
Love it, love it, love it. So that's an amazing video there.
Yeah. And then you'll see page
So-
you have a.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to ask a question. So as a mother, I would get this journal, put all of my documents in the journal, and then it's something that I can hand over to my partner or my children, as a place to keep all of my items in case of an emergency.
Correct. Or you could be able to, let's just say, because you may be still wanting to put more additional information in there, you could always tell your loved ones, hey, if anything were to happen, go look for the coins journal here, right? I mean, looks very much like what you all see. I don't know if you all can see this, but this is the journal. And it looks like this. Okay. So simply, this is just a book, right? And you can basically tell whoever you need to, if anything were to happen, go to the journal. And it walks you through each series in each chapter to start documenting that information so that, again, in a time of a chaos or something suddenly, all of your information is there, as opposed to simply going and looking in, let's just say everything was in your desk or on the rug, or, I've had people tell me that their family put stuff in a freezer on the bottom in the freezer. I don't know why, but things. So, I mean, instead of going to look in the freezer in the bottom and for all the important documents, you don't have to do that. You can just tell them where that journal would be, and then they can be able to go there and get all of that information at that point.
And when you were writing this book, is it true that you found out that more than half of Americans don't have
Yes.
a will? So
Yes.
especially right now during these times, I mean, even me, I need to, make sure that's in place for my children. So can you briefly talk about that and why it's so important to make sure we leave a legacy for our children?
So let's just be honest. I mean, we went to school, right? We all went to school in some capacity. And if you think about all the things that we've learned, we didn't learn this. We've never learned, obviously, wealth creation. We've never learned, obviously, how to create wealth, what to do once we create the wealth, and then how we are able to pass on that wealth. So even for myself, I'll be honest, just completely transparent. Up until my mother's getting suddenly sick, I had to go get us a wheel. I was like, nope, this is not going to happen to me. So I literally made it my business. It was not okay, I'm going to keep putting this off. This was more so this will be done within the next 5 days. Like, that's how serious this is. Because of the fact that I could not sleep. I could not sleep knowing that I didn't know what would happen if something would happen to my kids, right? I mean, to me, and then my kids didn't know what was going on. So we end up getting a living will and an estate plan and trust. And again, we're not taught this. So I had to educate myself, and I have learned and read so much on this topic now that, again, it goes to the importance of this. I am a real estate investor and broker, and we're going to get into that. And all of those resources that I have in that capacity, I was never taught why and what the importance of with regards to creating wealth in the real estate realm, but I have it now. And I'm teaching people what the importance of it, because in order to really be able to be a player when you think about generational wealth, we hear it's a good coin phrase, right? We hear, oh, this is this, and you can do this. The reality of it is, we just need to be able to know the education on how to create it for ourselves. Keith and I have talked extensively about wealth creation, as well as why it matters in the African American community. And we come back to the fact that we're not doing it because we're not educated on it, right? So we have a disconnect when we do not know how to do it. And then we just think that if we, again, continue to work, we're going to create that type of generational wealth that we talked about. And that's not going to happen. You have to close the gap. And the way you do that is through real estate. You do it through other options and different investments. You working your 9 to 5 until you're able to now fund your dream job. Let me make sure I say it again. People should just work your 9 to 5 until your 9 to 5 pays for your dream job. And now your dream job is funding what it is that you want to do. And then with other assets and things that you want to do, you hear about the people that are like superstars that are doing this. They don't have to necessarily show up and go to work. Why? Because they have things in place. They have the resources there. They have land, assets. Maybe it's vegetation. Maybe they have a garden. Maybe they're selling something. But the reality is you just have to be able to put your feet down and get in there and let's get educated to be able to execute that.
Well, what an amazing thing to do. Just to sit down, this is one of those low-hanging fruit things that everybody needs to do. Everybody should do. And how much does the book cost?
So you can go onto my website and we have the journal and the pen, and we are if you go on there and you go to shop, you'll click on it. You can be able to get the journal and the pen for $40. Now, what I do, there it is right there. Yep. And then the pen is on there as well. Now, there's a survey, or excuse me, a quiz that's on there. You can fill it out and you'll get those 2 items that we just spoke about. But one of the great things that I want people to do is if you was to get out of there, they're on that home page right there. If you go down, there is, after the infomercial is how secure are your coins quiz. And to me, this has been a real eye opener for a lot of people because I've been getting some information like, oh, I'm scared. But it's really just a 5-question quiz, but it helps you to really know what's going on with your money. And we don't think about this, but if you answer these questions, you'll see how you are with your money. And it's just a eye opener for you and your family. Okay. And let's see what Dekeitha will get with his quiz today. You have to just enter that really quickly.
All right.
And let's see what your score was. Awesome. Dekeitha, good job.
All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right.
So super easy. Everybody can do it, but it really just helps you very quickly be able to assess rather what am I doing with my money? Am I throwing it away, or am I just like, or do I have it secure? And if not, I walk you through the steps to be able to do that. Along with there's obviously I'm doing some other different with obviously raising up generations, as well as teaching people the value of your coins. I know we always think don't sleep on coins, get checks, but let me tell you, coins spelled with a Z is rare, right? It is your money. It is your resources. It's everything that you're doing. And I'm teaching and educating people on the process, as well as being able to make sure that your kids know it. Because my children now, they call themselves, and that's where the birth of the shirt was, Coins Kids. They now are thinking about their legacy now. My 8-year-old wants to do baking. She wants to bake, and she wants to have cupcakes and cakes, because my mother-in-law is a baker. So she's now in the kitchen always talking about how she's about to bake something. And I'm thinking, okay, that's fine. But she's telling me it's because she's a Coins Kid and she has to create this business to be able to make sure that she'll be able to sell things. And I'm all for it at 8 years old, right? But again, that's a legacy. That's how we start to change our generations, and we're changing our kids to think differently about whatever it is they want to do in life.
Well, we're going to pause just for a second. Ladies and gentlemen, you listen to WMPR 90.1. This is the Reviving Mississippi show. We have Miss Brandy Harrington on the line today, and we're talking about her new journal. And sit back, relax, and enjoy our sponsors for today's show. First sponsor is Micheal Jordan Transportation Services. Micheal Jordan Transportation Services has been in business for several years. He was on the show last week, 2 weeks ago, talking about his journey from growing up right here in Georgetown, going off to the military, retiring after that career, and coming home and reinvesting in his community, reinvesting in the space where he grew up. And his vision is to use this business to help revitalize the community he grew up in. He is in the process, so he's already purchased several of the properties there and renovating them and providing quality housing for people. So an investment in Michael Jordan Transportation Services is more than just getting a ride to the doctor, or more than just getting a ride to the grocery store. It is a safe experience, but also beneficial to our community. So go to mjstransportation1.com for those services. And he's hiring 25 new drivers. If you are mature and need a supplemental income or retirement income, go to mjstransportation1.com to fill out the employment application and contact them today. We're also sponsored by MyNoniJuice.com. Noni Juice is a powerful way to boost your immune system. Very quickly, you can go to www.mynonijuice.com to get you a bottle of Noni Juice today. Even call Brother Sherry Jones. He can hook you right on up, and I'll hook you up too. And right back to you, Angelique. You got something you want to read?
Oh, I just want to make sure people can go to purchase the Coins Journal at Amazon.com or to Brandy's website, mycoinswithaz journal.com. Thank you so much, Brandy. I'm definitely going to get this book today.
Today.
I'm going to print my quiz results. I'm not showing that online, but I know I need it.
Okay.
So we talk a lot about real estate.
Mm-hmm.
Several years ago, we had done a series of videos talking about the time is now.
Yes.
Time was now then, and I believe the time is even more so now.
Oh, yes.
Because in a few months, the property will be priced out of the average person's reach.
Yes.
I look at property right now that was for sale for $10,000 and $15,000
Mm-hmm.
a few years ago. I'm talking about like 3 years ago.
Yes.
That is now $50,000 and $60,000 for the same property in the same condition.
Same condition.
Ladies and gentlemen, you can say it better than I can. Go ahead, Brad.
When
Talk
I
about
say
the opportunity that we have right now.
this opportunity right now, listen, to keep this point, we have been talking about real estate for years now. I'll be honest, this is the time. I mean, I have literally been trying to tell people to get into investment properties for forever, right? But nobody listens. Like, oh, I'll make time again for those type of opportunities. Well, let's think about it. The same property that you're seeing that's $15,000, $20,000 is going for $65,000, $70,000 now. I literally had an investor call me from California. I managed his property, and he it made mention to me that he was like, "What is going on? I was able to get X, Y, Z properties from you a couple years ago, and I was looking again. I sent him these comps, and he's like, well, what's going on?" And I'm like, "It's going up." And he was like, "Okay, so I got to move fast." You, Nikita, can obviously vouch for this. Talk about how many out-of-state investors we have that come to Mississippi.
Oh my gosh, so many people flying in town, buying property. Ladies and gentlemen, don't sit on your porch. You see all these signs around town that say we buy houses?
Thank you.
First off, tear them down. Don't let these out-of-state folks come here and make this money. We need to make this money over and over again. So I would much rather for you to buy you a little hoopty than buy you an Escalade and put that money into an additional property. Just talk about the real estate market right here in the Central Mississippi area.
So two things. Number one, I'll be honest. Again, I am an investor. Okay, so I have had about 18 properties, and I manage our company manages investors of properties as well. Those same things that you're talking about, they send to you. I get those same notices, right? We buy cash, we do this. I called them up just because I need to be able to make sure, again, we talked about education earlier. I want to know what they're going to say to me, right? So of course, they tell me, oh yeah, I can go ahead and buy your house. I'm like, oh really? How much would you give me? And they ask you a couple of questions, right? And it sounds super easy. And they make it tell you that you don't have to do anything. We'll buy this out and this, that, and the third. And you're like, yes. And it was like, good, because we make it simple and you're distracted. The lady told me, oh, we can buy for $18,000. And I was like, for what? It has a whole, it's a tenant in there. It's been fixed up. Put the money in there, $18,000. Again, if you didn't know, and then they said, well, if that's not good enough, I think I should go up to 23,000. Again, insulting my intelligence. What did we just say? The market is already going for 60 or 70. You want to pay me $23,000?
Mm-hmm.
The reality of it is, these investors that don't have a interest in our community is buying our community up because we're not taking on the ownership to go ahead and figure out how we can be able to pull our money together to buy our own properties and fix it up. We talked about earlier generational gap. You think about how many properties you need. Everyone is looking for properties. There is no shortage of me not getting a phone call for somebody needing somewhere to stay. Now, that's another conversation. Again, I don't want slum lovers to get it. We want people who want to do the work to be able to make sure people have somewhere to stay. But the reality of it is, that's your number one need. If you think about it, it's a basic need.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you have a basic need, which is to stay somewhere, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you can be able to help make sure that these people have a nice place to stay, then why wouldn't you get in? I'm going to have a masterclass August 13th on this whole topic, and I will be able to go over a lot of stuff, the pitfalls, the do's, the don't, the what I should have wished I had known. But I've been doing this for over 13 years now, and I've literally seen so much information. Again, I have a portfolio of real estate, but what I'm noticing is not a lot of us are getting into this business.
Mm-hmm.
We aren't thinking generational wealth. We are only thinking, oh, well, I'll worry about it next time. And then we're seeing these prices come up. And the same property, to keep this point, that was $13,000, $15,000 a few years is now 60. And again, they haven't done anything. The market is changing. And you don't understand the market. Look around. You understand that if the market changes and the prices are going up, and everybody else isn't buying, just look at the clues. Like I tell my daughter all the time, look at the context clues. You have to see the handwriting on the wall, right? There is, because you can't go to California and buy, even if you had to buy the property for $60,000, you're not buying a property in California for $60,000 for an investment. Not going to happen. I'm sorry, I'll just take you to Chicago, where I'm from. You're not buying a property. Oh, no. I have investments in Chicago. You're not going to do that for $60,000. You can't go to Texas. You can't go to Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't go to Florida. So you see why Mississippi is in where investors are like, to keep this point, they're flying in and out, and they're trying to get these low hanging fruit, because at the end of the day, guess what? They can be able to write off this on their taxes. They can have additional write-offs. They can be able to get a residual income. It is so many things that you can learn from getting into this market. You just have to be educated on the process on how to do it.
We got two comments, very important.
Okay.
Janae, I totally agree. Outside investors should be held responsible for dilapidated properties. We've been fighting this for years.
Yeah.
Totally with you on that. Hard to prosecute, but we need some state level legislation in order to push through this issue. And hopefully working with our state leaders, we can get some real state legislation. The second piece, Sister Janet Williams says that doesn't have rent control. Well, Mississippi is one of the last states in the union that doesn't have a fair housing state law that allows municipalities to execute these two items right here. And hopefully working with our state leaders, we can do that in the future. And this market is amazing right now. To be living and watching it happen. Remember, y'all, the city just unloaded over 700 properties that we sold for $100 or less, right? To private neighbors. We wrote a law specifically so that investors couldn't get a hold of it. There was a property in one of my neighborhoods where the neighbor could have got the property for $100. I said, hey, here's the program. Here's who you call. Here's the paperwork. You're right next door. Buy. And the neighbor cuts the grass. Mm-hmm. And then that later on, the program went away. Somebody else bought it for that $100. One of the other neighbors, he sold it to a real estate person about a year or two afterwards. Now the neighbor's still cutting the grass on this property. That property, I walked outside about a year ago and came up down the neighborhood and saw a real estate sign in the yard. I called it up. They are selling that property for $25,000. Wow. Now remember, the neighbor could have owned it himself for $100, buying it from the city, because it was a city-owned lot, state-owned property, and someone else in the neighborhood purchased it. And then later on, they figured out how much it was worth, and they sold it to somebody. And now a realtor investor company has it on the market for $25,000. Now, where else can you put $100 and sit next door to you? Now, it's the same neighbor still cutting the grass, and it's on the market for 25 grand today.
So let me make sure I understand this. They did nothing to the property.
Nothing. The neighbor cuts the grass. The guy that I said that could have bought the property, he cuts the grass because it's next to his house.
He wants to keep it, and he wants to keep the neighborhood up. And like Janae is saying, you're right. We need to start to put that in place. And that's another conversation for another day. But if you put your money in the bank right now, you're not going to get a $24,500 profit in like less weeks. Like there's no way, nothing out here that's going to get and generate that type of income. The reality of it is for us is where we're not educated on what that looks like. Too many of us are wanting to get into real estate. Too many of us have seen, and we have a few people here that are doing it, and it's great. We just need to start helping people understand the value in there. Now, let's talk about if that neighbor would have bought that property, right? Now he can control, number one, I'm going to be next door to him. So guess what? You're not going to really get nobody that's crazy, right? Number two, you can talk about obviously keeping the yard cut. You can be able to get you some money to be able to help pay your bills now, right? Again, yes, there's fix-up costs. All of that has to be in that equation. But now, let's say if that neighbor sees another or identify another house on that, the owner sees another house on that street. That's what? That's 2 more rental properties, right? If you systematically do this approach one at a time, you could basically change the whole dynamics of your street. People want to think that it's so hard. Yes, we have to have the police. Yes, we have to have a lot of people in place. I'm not saying that. But if you want to change your dynamics and you want to change your street, buy it up.
That's right. Buy back the block.
Buy the block back. You can change it. If you're saying that on my block, I'm going to have this, that, and the third, and we're not going to be able to do this, and you're not going to be able to do this on my street, guess what? You own it. Who's going to stop you? The reality of it is we can't keep worrying people to tell us what we can't create it.
All right, so give us the contact information if folks are tuning in who want to get more information.
So go to my page, J Daniel Realty. That's J. Daniel Realty LLC. I will go over that listing again as an investor. If you're not an investor like that, again, there's not a necessarily, people say it's a list. There's some of those lists, they're out there, but again, you can work with a real estate broker, you can work with a real estate agent. We can be able to help supply the list. And the reason why I'm saying is just not certain lists are available. I think the Keith, maybe she'd be talking to you in terms of that list to be able to give out, to be able to access that land. I don't know if that's still available, but we have access to that. We have access to properties that are less than whatever your dollar amount is. If you want to say, let me know all of the properties under $1,000.
We got your website pulled up here. Talk us through what they're supposed to do when they go there.
So you can come here and you can do contact, and you can be able to contact me, and you'll get I will be able to follow back up with you. And then you can look on my website and you can be able to streamline what you would like to do. You can be able to set a price in there. You can look here in the Jackson area, and you can do a minimum price in that city. And obviously, in order to search, you do have to give me your email address and information. That's just so I can make a follow up with you and answer any questions that you may have. And with doing that, you could be able to come in and actually be able to search on any of those properties based on the correct criteria you're looking for. So I can work with you to be able to identify those properties, as well as, again, I'll have a class August 13th on what that looks like. And it is a master class to be able to work you and walk you through from point A to point B on what you all need to know in order to be able to start your own real estate investment, and being able to know the strategies around that.
So you got 485 properties on your website. I'm looking just right off. You got one $8,000 all the way up, and it runs the gamut here. So, ladies and gentlemen, definitely check it out. Make sure you just govern yourselves accordingly, because these are your dollars that are either sitting in a bank account or sitting in buying other things. So I know real estate, God's not making any more real estate. So if you're going to buy something that's going to appreciate in value. So go check them out, get your questions answered, so that they can move forward, so you can move forward, and the economics of it. I mean, real people have made millions of dollars off real estate, and I want folks right here in Jackson to participate in these things because we see the property, we know what's valuable, what's not valuable. So let's use the information we got. If you see a house that's dilapidated and torn down, do what I did. Down in South Jackson, there's an old, give that website again, Brent.
Daniel Realty Sales, SELLS. Can you pin it for me, Takitha?
Yeah, I'm going to put it up there right now.
The reality of it is, and then you have now something of value that you can put into your journal for the Coins Journal. Now you think about this real estate that you heard, maybe there's a lot of, again, I told you I'm from Chicago. So there's a lot of cross-functional from Chicago to Mississippi, right? And you've heard about, oh, we have family land there, right? The reality of it is, do you know who owns the land? Who's going to, where is that land? Who owns the titles? I think that's one important thing that we don't talk about enough is that with land, there's obviously taxes that have to be paid, and that's good, but we have to know who owns it. So again, if your family owns land, make sure you know where that is. Again, I get calls when it's the 9th hour and you're about to lose the property or it's about to be foreclosed and you're wanting to know how I can help. And I'll do all that I can, but I want to be able to bring it. Again, we're talking about planning earlier. Let's plan. Let's make sure we know who owns that land from the beginning. So if that person, family member, is in the hospital, gets sick, and we're having to deal with them till they get better, we know where that land is and what we need to do with it. Because too many of us are losing land in that same respect because we're not having this conversation. So that generational wealth that we keep talking about, you can get it, but make sure, again, you're actually documenting that so we can be able to find it and make sure that you and your family can be able to benefit from that.
So when it comes to one of the biggest opportunities I see right now is people who want to build new houses, because we all sit at home at night watching HGTV. We sitting there watching, which one they gonna pick, number 1, number 2, number 3. We watching flip or flop, and we want to see the houses like HGTV. And one of the things, people talk about people moving out of the city a lot, but one of the things that I think causes people to move out of the city is because they just don't have open floor plans and these granite countertops and an ensuite bathroom. So talk about the economy of building and the opportunity that presents us right here in our city.
Well, I think to your point, I think it's a great opportunity. I think right now we have land, we have opportunity to create what we want. Again, we want to buy the block up, we want to change it. You can create that. The thing that people look at on HGTV, because I am an HGTV person as well as Flip or Flop, I can name all the shows with you. The point is, let's think about it. If you think about it, even if you don't buy and actually build something, let's talk about the people who take the worst houses in the worst areas. Now, there's some truth in there, and there's some stuff we're not seeing behind the camera, right? But the reality of it is all they're doing is taking investment properties, fixing them up, blowing those walls out, creating those open concepts, putting them back on the market.
That's right.
That's it. It's nothing that is so new. Again, they're not doing anything that you can't do. Again, you just have to know how to do it and how to have access to funds to do that. But that's all they're doing. So they're taking these properties that, again, you can do the same thing. You want to create this, you can do it in your own house. My husband and I, we took a existing property. I came in, I seen the vision. I was like, I know what I'm gonna do. I blew out walls. I did what I needed to do. I found out some stuff. Again, I have the expertise because I do it in other rental properties. So I knew what I had to be able to come up against. But the point is, I knew what I was looking for. I knew how to see that vision. And that's what the people on those shows are doing. They're just now publicizing it a little bit better in terms of letting us all see it. But the reality of it is, the same property that you see on TV or something in your neighborhood, you don't have to go back in the same way. You can just go ahead and just create what you want. For that property.
Hey, Janae always has great information and great advice. I'm gonna get you on the show. Sit that up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get this sister, because this is a powerful sister that's commenting in the feed here. Talk about the opportunity to become an appraiser, a building inspector, and those things. Because most of the times, the building inspectors you call and the appraisers are making a killing running around town appraising property and doing building inspection, walking through a house, putting a little thing in the socket, So talk about those ancillary opportunities that are out there.
Okay, so from my real estate habit, of course, I'm limited because again, that I'm not a licensed appraiser. But to Janae's point, there's no reason for African American kids not to go get an apprenticeship with an appraiser. There's no reason for your child not to be able to get into this industry. They have to be able to obviously go through finding someone they can be able to follow and to be able to learn. And again, like trade schools, we can be able to start dealing with that, and we can create that opportunity. And then you can be able to go through the certification that allows the bank to be able to utilize your company. And that is a great avenue to be able to create wealth that way. And I think it just has to be taught to children, young boys and even girls. I'm not going to even say anything against girls learning. The reality of it is we just need to be able to start getting down and actually asking the right questions as to how can I be a part of this? This is one of those topics, again, we're not taught in school how to do this, right? We're not taught. But now this is 2020. This pandemic has shown us that we need to create opportunities. We need to be able to create our own avenues, buy up our own block, and be able to utilize our own resources to do it. And this is one way that we can do it, is through real estate.
So just for people who to reference properly, an appraisal for a house, just a normal size house, will cost you around about how much money? Normal, 1,900 square foot house. What would it normally cost you, just, estimate, to get an appraisal done?
So normally we're talking about, again, from the bank standpoint, I've seen it as much as $500-$600. Depends on their fees. Now, again, there's probably a contracted fees to do that. So let me make sure I put it out there. Now, again, independent contractors, they're independent. I mean, they're
$400 to $600 for an appraisal, right?
Oh, yeah.
All right. So now, how long does it take to do an appraisal on a house?
Again, since I'm not a licensed, I got to be very careful on how I am. I mean, it could take a couple hours.
All right, so I'll say it since she can't.
Exactly.
I had appraisals done on properties. The guy plugs the information into a computer. He's got some stuff over inside the software. He comes in the house. Now, they do a thorough job inside the house. They're measuring things and taking pictures, and he plugs those things into it. I mean, all in all, it may take, 2 hours and maybe 30 minutes of processing. So 2.5 hours, he makes between $400 and $600. Now, if you were doing that in a day, because I even thought about getting my appraisal and stuff done. Because if all you got to do is drive to somebody's house with a camera phone and take some pictures, go back, apply your expertise that you learned in the schooling process, and then now go ahead and market that. And you're making between $400 and $600 a pop. And you can do, 4 or 5 a day. That's a good living.
Exactly.
Very good. Even building inspectors, home inspection. Checking stuff out. I know you can't talk a lot. I'll say it since I'm not a licensed anybody. I'm just a guy who paid for this stuff. You're paying, $500, $1,000 to check this property out. For somebody to tell you what you looking at with your eyes, that big crack coming through the foundation is there. Yes, it is there. But these are skills and trades that become professions and businesses. So we got a lot of folks in our community that have gotten into real estate. I think the next step is the appraisal, the building inspections, the mortgage brokers, and those other pieces to the puzzle. We got about 4 minutes left to go on the show. Go ahead and give us some partner words so we can wrap this Power Pack show up.
Tell us how to get in your meeting coming up in August.
So if you would just obviously go out to either Daniel Realty page, we will actually post it there. And that's going to be the masterclass. It'll be August 13th at 7 p.m. You're going to get the do's and don'ts of real estate, but from I'm not holding anything back. I'm gonna tell you the good, the bad, but more realistically, how you can get started. That will be August 13th, and then obviously you can go to my website www.jdanielrealtysales.com. You can look online and look for properties, and then inbox me, and we can schedule something to be able to talk about that. And you can get ready for the masterclass should you be ready to get in there, because again, this is where you really want to be. This pandemic has shown us a lot. And right now we need to take advantage of this. Millionaires come out of pandemics. It has been noted. It has been said. When you think about it, we've all slowed down. We've had a chance to be at home. We've had a chance to think and re-strategize, right? Come out of this stronger than you did before you came in. And then obviously you can go to once you get that, you can go to my coins journal page and get the journal to be able to plan for your legacy. Right now, it is critical with the number of rates, the people right now who are getting sick. Don't take for granted you got time to get that information. Let's go ahead and make it our point to go ahead this weekend and get this journal, fill it out. And then once we're done, we can move on to something else. And then we can get these coins to make sure we can get this real estate. How about that?
Love it, Brandy.
Love
I
it.
learned a lot today.
Angelique, any parting words?
No, I'm coming to see you before August the 13th, though, Brandy.
I'll come, definitely. I'll make sure. Looking forward to talking with you, Angelique. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a great show. We appreciate all of our viewers for always tuning in. We appreciate Miss Brandy Harrington for your journey. And we didn't even get to your personal tragedies and triumphs. And so we're going to get that again. We're going to get you back on the show, let's say 2 or 3 weeks from now.
Okay, perfect.
People got to know your story. You glazed over it because that's what you do. You glazed over it, but I want people to know your journey. And when folks know what you have gone through and overcome, it's even more powerful. And hats off to you, your husband, your children, and y'all got a wonderful, beautiful family. Everybody's out at Christmas time, they're always dressed up all together with their pictures. So hats off to you. Appreciate you for your diligence, because it is not easy.
About my story, I knew it was a lot of information I wanted to share with everybody. Again, I was very passionate about this topic, and both of them actually, but I definitely want to make sure I did not glaze over it, and wanted to give you all of that information. And actually, as soon as I leave out here, I'm going to hop on a live because I'm doing a free webinar on real estate investment. And I'm actually talking about today's topic with HUD properties and why you need to know and what you need to know about it. So I'm about to get off of here and jump onto this other live.
Post the link in the go to my Facebook page, post the link in the comment section so folks can hop off of this in a second and hop on that.
Hop right onto that. So thank you so much for having me.
Hey, take care, Brandon.
Thank you, Angelique. Nice talking to you all.
You know, ladies and gentlemen, it's just amazing. We got great talent right here in Mississippi. I mean, great talent with people who are here and availing themselves for service. So as we end every show, ladies and gentlemen, and it's been a trying week, especially the last couple of hours, we must rise above the foolishness and continue to work hard towards solving problems in our community and creating opportunities for ourselves, our neighbors, and our children. Don't dive off in the gutter. Rise above so that you can lead your family properly, lead your community properly, so we can move forward. And it's times like this, our problems are too severe for us to be distracted. So as we end every show, we always say, never let anybody put you in a position when you don't love your own people. Now, you might not like them, Angelique.
That's right.
You might not like them.
Love and respect them.
But you got to love them. You got to respect folks and live a life above the board so that you can command respect. I sat here last year and watched folks talk about me for a year like a dog, Handy. I sat here and gave you a personal example of what you're supposed to do. Rise above, keep your head up, keep walking, and keep working. That's how you do it.
I also want to make sure everybody sees.
That's right. Our Master Latrice Westbrook, we're going to have on the show in the coming weeks. Make sure you stay tuned because the elections are coming up. And also District 66 is wide open. We're going to see who's going to bust through the door next week.
I got some ideas for you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we love y'all. God bless.